Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and this is my top 100 games of all time as of 2021, and, well, feels a bit nervous to start this off. So, let's go ahead and get into this. I've never done a top 100 before. I've tracked my own top 100, but I've only ever done top 50 in videos. I did top 20 2 years ago, top 50 last year. This year we'll do top 100. Next year we will probably still do top 100. I don't have the energy for more than that. That said, a few things before we dive into it. Timestamps, as usual, to all the things down below. Starting with the fact that schedule-wise, I don't have an exact schedule for these, but one piece of feedback I got from last year is last year I did one a week for like 5 weeks. Some people said that was too stretched out, and I totally get that. So I will actually be trying to power through these pretty quickly, likely going for like 3, maybe 4 a week. It's made worse by the fact that since I'm doing top 100, that's going to be 10 different videos. Probably aiming for, like I said, 3 or 4 a week to knock this out in around 3 weeks total. We'll see how things go. Hopefully I get it all done. So that's as far as schedule. I'll cross-link or different things, so links to everything down below. Hopefully we'll see how that goes. Past that, as far as the methodology I use, I completely resorted everything from prior years, meaning I did not in any way, shape, or form just simply make changes to the order of last year. I completely resorted everything. I want to come in fresh, not biased by whatever I said last year. Ultimately, it's my top 100 now, not some variance that I'm driven to as of last year. And to that end, the methodology I use is I started by putting everything into brackets, general brackets of my 5s, my 4s, my 3s, 2s, 1s. From there, I used a ranking engine that I'll link down below called PubMeeple. What I do is I took everything within a bracket. I take all my 5s, put them in a bracket, and then it gives you choices. Do you want this or that, this or that, this or that? And then it spits out what they think your top whatever is, and from there, I do a manual override. The reason I do brackets first is if you try throwing 300 games into PubMeeple, you will be there the entire day. If you bracket things out into categories first, then throw it into PubMeeple, you can get it done pretty quickly, and then of course manual override if I'm like, no, this is over here. I may or may not go into this quick thing in every single video, just so you know what's going on, but either way, let's go ahead and dive into it. And this top 10, we're doing 100 to 90 right now, 100 to 91 more specifically. And from these 10 that I'm doing over here, I have 3 that are new to me, games that I've played for the first time in this past year. I have 2 that are Kickstarter games, and then I have a mix of lighter and heavier games. And it's worth noting in general, I do have a recency bias when I do these videos. Games that I've played in the past year are more likely to get love and attention than games that I love but haven't gotten to the table and that will affect their ranking, starting off with number 100, which is The Crew. The Crew last year was my number 53, so this has seen a big drop, and a big part of that is because I played it a lot when I first got it, and I have played it less frequently as time goes on. Still like it, still a big fan of it. It has been played, but not as much as it used to, and so that has caused it to drop, although top 100, I mean, to quote the Dice Tower, anything in this list is trash if it's not the first 3 or whatever it is. The Crew is a trick-taking game, a cooperative trick-taking game. I really like The Crew, and if I played it more often, I bet this would be higher on the list. Practically speaking, I find this one harder to table because not everyone in my core game group does love it, so it doesn't get tabled quite as often. I am not a fan of trick-taking in general, but I love trick-taking in The Crew because trick-taking, I'm not going to spend time getting into my problems with trick-taking and why it doesn't work for me in general, but in The Crew, because of the cooperative nature of things, the trick-taking turns into a puzzle that you're working towards together. How can we win? We're looking at a puzzle here. We need to win. We need to somehow do the form of winning that is required by the scenario, and that's hard. But if we work together, if we cooperate and communicate when we are allowed and how we are allowed to communicate, you can get things done. The Crew is excellent, plays in a very short time frame, accommodates a decent player count range. It is cooperative, so you have to be okay with that. It is trick-taking, although you do not have to like trick-taking, as evidenced by me, who does not like trick-taking at all, and yet The Crew is an excellent, excellent experience. I actually have, over there on my shelf, just out of view over there, I have the new one, the Crew Undercover Adventures or whatever it is, underwater. It's called Mission Deep Sea. Mission Deep Sea. I'll be playing that at some point, you can rest assured, and this keeps going back and forth like that. But that's The Crew. The Crew is my top my 100. Big drop from last year, but again, still a decent game. Decent, all things considered. Now, coming in at 99, we have Sprawlopolis, and this saw a big hit from last year. This dropped from 25, and that's not because I'm not playing this one. Sprawlopolis is from Button Shy Games. Great little game, all about optimization of stuff. What you're doing in Sprawlopolis is it's a little solo game. You could play it two players or whatnot. I don't recommend it. I recommend it as a solo experience. And you're trying to basically build out a city with these cards as you lay them on the table and try to fulfill a bunch of scoring objectives also given by said cards. I also have Agropolis, whatever the new one is, and I like that as well, although I prefer Sprawlopolis overall. For me, this one has dropped, and again, utter garbage, all that. For me, this one has dropped in ranking, not because I don't play it. I still pull this out and play it frequently. It is an easy game to table. It's great for when I have 10 minutes and I want to play something a little meaty. This gives me a good little puzzle, but at the end of the day, I have gone through this game a lot. I have played this game, I don't know my exact count, but I've probably played this game somewhere between 50 plus times, whatever it is. And that does mean that, while I certainly haven't seen all the variables and combinations, it does mean that the puzzle, the freshness has certainly worn off. And Agripolis, while I like it, it doesn't feel as refined or clean as Sprawlopolis. I like Sprawlopolis better, even though technically Agripolis is newer. For me, really like this one. It's still a really solid design from Button Shy Games, and it's still in my collection. It's number 99 after all, but that's why this one dropped. Next up, coming in at 98, we have Nemesis. This one is new to me. I have played this for the first time in 2021, and this one is 98, and I expect it to either grow or leave my collection entirely. One of those two things will happen. You see, my experiences with Nemesis so far have been mixed. I have simultaneously had some of the best gaming experiences I've had from any game, and also some just mediocre ones that weren't that great. And generally, systematically, historically, whatever it is, historically speaking for myself, games that give me mixed experiences, I tend to eventually get rid of them because I don't want mixed experiences. I want games that are consistently good. And if I know that walking into a game of Nemesis, I don't know what type of game experience I'm going to get, then I am less likely to pull it off the shelf because I want good games, and if it might be a bad game, then it's not what I'm going to pull off. Now that said, the reason I still think Nemesis has a chance of sticking around is because for me, I have enjoyed Nemesis most as a cooperative experience. I have loved it as a cooperative experience. I have found it to be okay as a semi-cooperative experience. Now, semi-co-op is the preferred mode, and Nemesis is a game of survival on an alien spaceship as you have your goals you're trying to achieve, and in the semi-co-op mode, you're all trying to survive, but you're all trying to accomplish your own goals. In the semi-co-op mode, I've only played the semi-co-op mode once, to be fair, and I don't know if I'll ever play it again. It goes back to that fact of, since I had a bad experience with it, next time I play Nemesis, I'd rather play it co-op, where so far I have only had good experiences. So it's that weird balance for me. Nemesis is a game that is really well liked, well rated. It's like number 19 on Board Game Geek, and as I play this one more and as I refine where it lands for me and which modes work for me, whether the co-op is an amazing experience, whether the semi-co-op does have good plays and I just had a bad first play, I don't know yet. Time will tell on all of those. Overall, the tenseness of Nemesis, though, is amazing. The feeling of escaping aliens and running away from these things because they are scary is amazing. It's so much content for this game. I'm very excited for Lockdown and all of that. I'm excited to see what Lockdown does to change my overall perception and opinion of Nemesis. For right now, I really, really like it. That semi-co-op mode threw me off, which is why it's number 98. Solid experience. Hopefully one that will grow, but also possibly one that will leave. We'll see how time favors this one. Next up, we have number 97, which this one is a tricky one for me. Number 97 is Glass Road. Glass Road is not new to me, but it also wasn't on my list last year because it's a game I actually got rid of and got back. And I'm so happy I got it back. I don't know why I got rid of it. Sometimes what I do with these games, I do this with often with Euro games that from Uwe Rosenberg, from Stefan Feld. What I'll do over time is I'll get rid of some of them because I'm like, I have too many of these in the category. They feel too samey. They don't feel samey, but they have too much general overlap in the experiences they are providing. And so sometimes I'll get rid of them. And then sometimes I'll remember why I had them in the first place, and that's certainly true for Glass Road. Glass Road is a game that, from Uwe Rosenberg, it's a game in which you're trying to, it's a typical generate resources in order to build different buildings and rinse and repeat to have the most productive little resource engine as possible. If you played any of Uwe Rosenberg's games, this will have some degree of similarity in the feeling. The reason I like Glass Road so much, the reason it stands out for me compared to some of his others that you will not see on this list, even though they are more highly ranked in general, is I love the non-perfect nature of what's happening in Glass Road. You have this hand of cards that you're trying to play little mind games with the other players, trying to anticipate what they'll play so you can take advantage of them as much as possible. But that means you walk into every round knowing full well you can't perfectly min-max your way to the perfect score. You have to allow for some possibility of things not going your way, which also speeds up the game because you don't get locked into this AP analysis paralysis cycle of just constantly trying to find the best thing possible. Rather, you go in, you know that you won't get everything done, and you do your best with what you have. You get what you get and you don't get upset, and that's Glass Road. And this one is so good. I mean, I got rid of it, like I said, so it's not on last year's list. I don't know where it would have ranked. I haven't had it in a few years, and I finally got it back, started playing it again, and it is a delightful experience, one that I'm very happy is here, and I assume it'll be here next year, but you never really know. I go through phases of some of these games in terms of where they land. And number 96 is new to me. 96 is Decrypto. Decrypto, which I've had in my collection for entirely too long, but I finally got this one played. I actually played this over with Ivy Studios and Becca Scott. She taught it to us, and I was very happy to have it taught to me because this is a game that I finally got tabled. You see, Decrypto is a game that is, I think it's ranked slightly higher than Codenames as far as pure ranking. Not BGG rankings, which prioritizes popularity, so I think Codenames takes the win there. But in terms of pure score, Decrypto is a drop above Codenames, and while I understand why, Codenames is higher up on this top 100 list. So first spoiler we have there, although there's a bunch of things I'm sure you know. But either way, Decrypto is incredible. I like it a lot. It's a little less purely elegant than Codenames to me, but it's one that is more strategic and offers a lot of opportunities for just fun play. You see, in Decrypto, what you have going on is you have basically your clues. Each team has their clues, and then you're giving clues to your teammates to try to guess the order of things, but the other team has an opportunity to intercept. Now, I'm not going to try to heavily explain this because it is a little complicated, even when you're teaching the game to people. But the net result is that sometimes the other team can start piecing together, oh, they gave the clue red, and they gave the clue, you know, murder, maybe the thing that they're going for is blood. And so you start trying to deduce not what the other people have, but rather trying to intercept the order of their clues, which you can do with enough information. The game is very tricky, very brilliant, very clever. It's from Yellow Games, and it's a really, really good game. Again, not as good as Codenames for me, although different people disagree, but I really, really like Decrypto. It is an excellent party game. And it's worth noting, by the way, this is a good time to note in the video, I guess, although some of these are in general, my top 100 is always a mix of how do I rank different things. How do you compare a game like Decrypto against a game like, I don't know, pull whatever random Euro, pull like a Feast for Odin. How do you compare and contrast a party game and a heavy Euro game? There are different experiences, and so the answer is, I don't know. I just went with whatever ordering system seemed the most legit to me, understanding full well that you'll have some weird questions of lighter games that are ranked higher than heavier, amazing, meaty games, but it is what it is. And then on to 95, another new to me game is Cubitos from AEG. This is the last of the new to me games on this list. Again, we have Nemesis, we have Decrypto, and we have Cubitos are the new to me games in 100 through 91. Cubitos from AEG is a game that will likely not be on this list next year, okay? That's an interesting one, right? Where we'll walk into this and you're like, Alex, you really like this game and you're talking about Cubitos, but you're literally saying it's not going to be on your list next year. So first of all, it's not what I said. I said it's likely not going to be on my list next year. And part of that baseline is Quacks of Quedlinburg, which is a game I directly compared to Cubitos, and a game I really like, is not on my top 100. At least I'm pretty sure it's not. I'm 99% sure it's not. But either way, the Quacks of Quedlinburg is one that I really like the game, but Cubitos is a game that I like better. Although the tricky part is Quacks of Quedlinburg gets played more because my wife will not play Cubitos, although she loves Quacks of Quedlinburg. So if Rena likes the game, it's going to get played more, which already is reason one why Cubitos will likely not be on this list next year. But reason number two, and more importantly, is because of a game called Rolling Heights. Okay, Rolling Heights from AEG and John D. Clare as well, same designer, same company as Cubitos, which is a good time to talk about Cubitos because I haven't done that at all. Cubitos is a push your luck rolling dice racing game. You're going to be gathering various dice which represent various factions or units, and then you're rolling them and trying to push your luck. Do I keep going? Will I bust? What happens there as you race around the track and be mindful of their abilities? I really like the system. Like I said, it does not get played as much as Quacks of Quedlinburg, but enter Rolling Heights. This video is not about Rolling Heights, but I'm talking about Rolling Heights anyway. Rolling Heights is a Kickstarter coming in 2022. It's a game that I've played. I will have coverage on the channel at some point, but it's a game that I really, really like. I like it more than Cubitos, and I like it more than Quacks of Quedlinburg. And my wife, Rena, likes it more than Cubitos as well, which means it will likely end up being in the category of the game that I play, and Cubitos' future over here is uncertain because I think Rolling Heights will fire it for me. But I really like Cubitos. Don't get too sidetracked by Rolling Heights. We'll talk about Rolling Heights next year or at some point in the future. The point is, Cubitos is an excellent game, and assuming your spouse, significant other, whoever you play games with is willing to play this game with you, I recommend playing it. For me, between my game group, I would say that this is just the one that I really, really like Cubitos, but I have a hard time getting it tabled, unfortunately, which is why it's number 95 for now, which brings us to number 94, which is Monumental. Monumental, which last year was 64. 64, so this is a big drop, a relatively big drop, and again, this is going to go towards that recency bias side of things. You see, Monumental is a game that I think I've only played one time since I put it in my top 100 last year. Only one play, unfortunately, and it's a game that I really want to play more often, but it is a longer experience and one that does not see the table as often as I'd, well, like to. I do have the expansion African Empires coming, so I'm excited to see how that mixes up the thing. Ultimately, it'll probably make the game longer and or more complicated, and therefore see the table less, but we'll see how that plays out over time. Monumental is a deck building, semi-area control, semi-4X civ building game. I say semi to a whole lot of those things because really I just think of it as a deck building experience. It's a deck building experience with a little card tableau, a 3x3 card tableau, where every single round you're going to play cards into your tableau, you're going to be slowly building out your deck, and then you're going to activate a row and column of that card tableau to get the abilities you need, whether it's movement around the map, whether it's fighting, whether it's getting resources, building different things, building different wonders, all those things you're trying to do with this card tableau, and that little puzzle is great. Also, it's a long game, especially at higher player counts. I will not play this at 4 players. I will reluctantly play it at 3 players. Playing it at 2 players and solo currently is the sweet spot for me, which I'd say really 2 and 3, but really 2 players is really my sweet spot, but I'm willing to play it solo, I'm willing to play it at 3. It is a really, really solid game, although the expansion, for whatever it's worth, the African Empires expansion, they are introducing, or they did introduce, depending, I think you can download the rules, I don't know, but they introduced an aspect called simultaneous play, or simultaneous play, the idea being that they're trying to speed up the game by having people do things right away. I don't know if it'll work or not. If it does make the game easier to table, then this one will rise. It's a really solid game. I really like it. It's only here because it doesn't get played as often as I'd like. Which brings me to number 93, a game that I don't necessarily like as much as Monumental, but a game that's gotten played twice this past week alone, a game that is much easier to table. That is going to be Railroad Inc. Railroad Inc., which, funnily enough, this one was my number 93 last year as well. So this one has dead even. And again, there's no messing around with stuff. I come up with my list, and only after I do that, do I then look at where it ranked last year. So this is exactly where it was last year, 93. I don't know why it didn't go higher, honestly. I think it's just because of the deluge of new games that are constantly pushing things up. So in general, when a game maintains its rank, I would say that's usually a good thing, because I'm always excited by new stuff. You've seen my videos. You know how fun some games are, and there's new stuff coming out every year that I'm excited about, and so games that maintain their ranking they're usually doing a great job. Railroad Inc. from Horrible Games, Horrible Guild. They changed the name from Horrible Games because apparently a company called Horrible Games was not the best marketing they could have come up with. But Railroad Inc. is a full box full of, it's a roll and write experience. And I have all the stuff over here. I have all the content. I haven't played through it all. My goal, by the way, is when I'm doing it currently with Rena, with my wife, is I'm going through them all one at a time, trying to play with every single module and expansion, and then when I'm finally done, I'll do a full comprehensive review of all of them. I'll see you in 4.5 years. I say that because there's so much content in this box, it's absolutely ridiculous. This game did not need to be more than a single one of these packets over here. Grab a single one of these, any single one, and you already have 98% of the experience of Railroad Inc. Seriously, find one of these, anyone. You can find them for $15-20. It's a roll and write game where you're trying to connect different stations and trying to be mindful of the little mini expansions that each game comes with that mixes up the experience. I like those mini expansions. I do. Unless you're playing this game a lot, you don't need more than 1, maybe 2 of those games, let alone all the content I have here. That said, I'm happy I have the content because I really like this game. My wife and I play this a lot. This is one of our classic, hey, it's late, we want to play something else, we didn't have time, we played this instead, let's see how it goes, and let's pull out a new thing and go through it. Really enjoy Railroad Inc. It is a solid roll and write game with a ton of variability from all those modular expansions. You don't need the variability. You can play the same one again and again and again, and it's still a good game, but this packs so much content into this box, way more than you need. That's Railroad Inc. number 93. Number 92 is one of the older games in my collection. Actually, I didn't think about this, but I didn't track at all how long some of these games have been in my collection. From this particular top 10 over here, I'm 99% sure that 5 Tribes, I just said the name, number 92, 5 Tribes. I'm 99% sure that this is the oldest one from this particular segment of the top 10. It is not the oldest game in my top 100, I know that for sure. But either way, 5 Tribes from Voodoo Cathala and Days of Wonder is the only Days of Wonder game I have left in my collection. Days of Wonder went through a period where I owned everything. I owned every single Ticket to Ride. I owned every single Small World. I didn't own Memoir. I never owned Memoir 44. It didn't really work for us back then. I don't know what else they have. I have to think through. But I owned a lot of Days of Wonder's games and experiences, and 5 Tribes was no exception. It came out and I adored the game. The little Mancala-ish aspect of putting your meeples around the board, trying to take actions with your genies and the tile. There's a ton of just point scoring in the game. I love the point scoring of 5 Tribes because there's so much point scoring. Every single move is a question of, can I get 22 points this turn? Can I get 18 points? And you can see little puzzles of movements across the table because every time you move, you're dropping off meeples, you're creating a new board state, you're modifying the board state. You are then going to take an action of the tile and an action with the meeples. The expansions only add more content, more ways to do things, more fun stuff to the game. And every round you're bidding on your turn. You're bidding on turn order. So it's a little puzzle of, I see the perfect move, I'm going to bid 8. And the problem is someone else saw the perfect move, they bid 12, and now you're out 8 and you're not even getting that perfect move. It's a fun little balance of how much to bid, what to go for, and finding the little opportunities to score points within the greater ecosystem of 5 Tribes. It's a game that I'm surprised is still here. It's one that I don't always play it. It doesn't see played that often. I have played it. Like, I've played it, I don't know, 3 weeks ago. I do play this one, but not that frequently. I find that it's a little lighter for some of the heavier gamers in my game people in my game group, but a little lighter than some of the people who play games in my group, and a little too heavy for casual gaming, just too much stuff to think about in the game. But when it does find the right spot, time, whatever, it is a game that we all really, really enjoy, which brings us to number 91. Number 91 is going, and 5 Drives, by the way, for context, forgot this part, 5 Drives was 99 last year, so it was my top 100, and it actually improved. It actually went up a bit, probably because I added the expansions. That's actually probably it. Yes, when I played 5 Tribes last year, I had only ever played the base game. Since last year, I have started adding the expansions, and I like it more with the expansions. The Artisans of Nagala is a great expansion. You should totally add that one. It adds more fun stuff. That's probably why it jumped up, because new stuff and recency bias. Which brings us to 91. 91 is Coloretto. Coloretto is an excellent game. I love this one. It's so meaty, it's so tense, it's so punchy. It's possible that I've had Coloretto longer than 5 Tribes. I don't think so, but we're going back long enough in my gaming history that I'm certainly not certain. What an absurd turn of words there. Coloretto is a game from Rio Grande Games, and it's a game that is about trying to collect sets of things. The problem is you only score for your 3 highest sets. Everything else scores negative points. So you want to do really well in 3 things and really poorly or have nothing in everything else. The problem is you don't have the control you think you'd have in this game, because every single round you either take a row or you add more cards to the rows. And that results in a fun little puzzle of basically screwing people over the whole game while being screwed over by other players and hoping that you can screw them over more than they can screw you over, and then you can win the game. That may or may not sound like fun to you, but it certainly sounds like fun to me. The tenseness of trying to choose, do I take that row? There's only 2 cards there, and those 2 cards are okay for me, but if I let this go on for another turn, things might get better, but more likely they're worse because you're vindictive, and I know what you're going to do, and there's no way you're going to let me have a better set of cards. You're almost inherently either going to just completely mess me over, or something, so it ends up being a fun little puzzle. I really enjoy Coloretto. I need to get the new Anniversary Edition, because pretty box or whatever. I'll get it at some point. I'll look into it. I think it's currently out of print, this game in general, but I'll find a copy somewhere, somehow. Overall, Coloretto is my number 91, and this, for context, was 95 last year, which means it's another one that has gone up. Some of the older classics do get played and go up in terms of my general rankings. Some of them go down. I'll have to do it at the end of this list. Ooh, fun idea. At the end of this video list, I'll have to go through all the top 100 last year and see which ones got pushed out. I'll do that at the end of everything, because I'm not going to do that right now. In any case, that is numbers 100 through 91. There'll be another one of these videos tomorrow, and probably the next day, and a whole bunch of these until we're done with all 10 of these videos. That's it. I don't have any fancy wrap-up. This is the start of the top 100 games of all time as of 2021. These lists will merge and change every single year, and there's a whole bunch of fun things I'm excited to talk about as we get lower and lower into the rankings. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, have a good one.